It's got to be, I'm proud of me. That's why I'm steady moving on despite the hatred. I get better every song, man. It's got to be, I'm proud of me. If you don't like it, move along, get the shaking. If the bacon ain't involved, man, it's got to be, I'm proud of me. That's why I'm steady moving.
Hey guys, welcome back. I will say the mine here. Camera's a little fuzzy. It's eventually gonna fix itself. Come on, camera. Let's start this. Just there it is. Hey guys, welcome back to Global Theater Mind. I'm your host, Garnett, along with my cousin JD. And Travis, as you can know, is you see what he's getting ready to do, but yeah, close to the mind. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to like, don't forget to share, don't forget to make a comment. We're giving you tons of information today that's going to be so positive towards making the choice to either smoke weed or not smoke weed, or to change the way you think about weed. Okay, guys? So, welcome. Travis, before on Thursday, we were talking about, on Tuesday, Tuesday, we were talking about the comparison between weed and human beings. And you said that weed was the equivalent of a human being. Could you elaborate on that? Because that's a huge, that's a small little sentence, but that's a huge statement. You know what I'm saying?
Cannabis is the plant equivalent of human beings because it lives on every continent on the planet except Antarctica, which we only have research bases. There's no populace there.
No populace.
Okay, no populace. It has a distinct male and female counterpart that you cannot mistake. Okay, the males have balls and the females have vaginas. That's how it works. Okay,
you can't say that and not explain. So what makes the male version of the weed and the female version of the weed?
Yeah. So most people haven't seen a male version because we always throw them away and get rid of them because we don't want seeds in our cannabis flowers, right? Because it sucks to smoke it. So back in the day, they used to have some stuff called sin semilla, and that's Mexican for without seeds, and that means to grow weed.
Hold on, sin semilla is that a Jamaican word?
That's what was just going. You heard what I said earlier.
Sin semilla is Mexican. It's Spanish for without seeds. Sin is without. Semilla means seed.
Hey, if there's something to forget in this conversation, let's just pretend that he didn't just say that.
Come on, Jamaica, create that. Sin semilla.
Sin semilla.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, shit.
Without seeds.
That makes sense.
So to get that, you got to kill all the males, right? You got to get rid of them. So it's not something that people see most of the time, especially in a nice flower crop. You just don't see them. It's just females. It's just a bunch of sexually frustrated females sitting there getting fat.
So hold on. So you're saying if the males with the seeds came through and we grew them and then we grew some females, they'd get to fucking?
Oh, they fuck. So what happens is the male grows up over the top of the female. It's always the biggest, tallest, strongest plant. Just like a male, it's just like it's a male.
Yeah.
It's huge and dominant. Okay. Yeah. And it comes up over the females. It grows a big cluster flower, but it's not a female flower. It's a flower full of it looks like balls. There's just a cluster of balls. Okay. And then when those balls open, it nuts all over the female, right? Pollen. And it douses pollen down onto the female, which gets collected by a pistil and stamen. Do you remember a pistil and stamen from biology class? Okay. So the stamen is the piece that grabs the pollen and takes it down inside the pistil, and the pistil is the plant vagina that grows the seed.
Oh shit!
Hey, listen, y'all. Hey, weed is the shit.
So that's how they breed. Okay, and they so each flower, when it gets fully seeded by a male, each seed in there is a genetic genetic variant of its parents' of its two parents, and each seed is different from each other. It's like they're like snowflakes, and that's why you have so many different kinds of weed, because when it's allowed to procreate properly, its genetic variance is very large, just like human beings. When we're allowed to breed, our genetic variance
Kind of
is
like
huge.
coronavirus.
Huh?
Kind of like the coronavirus. When it's allowed to propagate, there's different variants.
It has variants. So,
Yeah.
so the distinct male and female counterparts. Okay, it lives on all continents on the planet except Antarctica, and it has the ability to do anything. Like us, can't we do almost anything? We can dig a hole, we go to outer space, we can build a bridge, we could do a lot of things on this planet, right?
Yeah.
Well, so can cannabis. Cannabis can be fuel, it can be food, it can be clothes, it can be houses, okay? It's medicine for sure, we know that.
Yeah.
Right? So it has the diversity to do anything on this planet. Henry Ford made a car out of hemp, and you can look it up online, him taking a fire axe and smashing the quarter panel of this car repeatedly with a fire axe, and that shit bounces off, and it doesn't hurt.
More safe than the metal car that crunches.
It's way stronger. It's way stronger. It's a superior material to everything that we're using today to build, to fuel, and to even eat. It's superior to cotton.
Oh, when you say eat now, now you can't eat no weed and survive. You gotta have some meat and shit.
Yes, you can.
Like, how? Explain that, bro.
See, the cannabis seed is extremely nutritious.
Okay.
So when you allow it to seed out in the field, and you don't take out the males, and you allow all of the, haven't you heard of hemp seed? Like, they put hemp seeds in everything. They put it in bread. They got it on crackers. They got it on everywhere. I mean, hemp protein powder. It's super packed with protein. All your amino omega acids, your omega 6s and 12s, and all that stuff's all in cannabis, man.
What you do? How you gonna survive on the seed? What you gonna make food with the seed, like compress the seed into like how you make corn?
You can literally roast it. You can literally roast it, or just eat them raw. You can survive entirely. It's a whole food, like a potato. You could survive entirely on hemp seeds.
You're telling me weed is this glorious?
Yeah. Yes, that's why it's been suppressed. It's such a material powerhouse. It is the greatest textile power on the planet. Hemp.
Why are we not using it? Why are we not taking it?
Why? Because it would take away the fundamental bottom line of the oil industry, the timber industry, the cotton industry, the petrochemical industries, every giant industry on this planet. It would undermine and take their shit out.
Yeah, thinking about that actually makes sense, because it's just like any big existing industry that there are right now. When you look at things like the pharmaceutical industry, if tomorrow they find, a cure for cancer or a cure for AIDS or something that is uncurable today, that comes from a plant, it's sure that that's something that they would really keep from the general population, just because of the money that they really make from the cancer treatments and stuff like that. So it actually makes sense. It pans out when it comes to the financial aspect of observing things.
It totally does, because when you say it like that, you got to think about it like this. You have to think about it to the fact that it would literally hit so many bottom lines in so many industries that it's almost. But then again, why wouldn't, if I'm running an oil company, and I know that I can turn hemp into oil and use it more efficiently for everyone, why wouldn't I just switch to hemp oil and start selling that? Wouldn't I be making the same amount of money? Wouldn't I be making the same? Wouldn't I be making Wouldn't I be making the same amount of money selling the hemp oil as a big oil company that I'd be making selling the regular oil as an oil company?
Well, it's simple. It's because if it's grown on the field, everybody has access to that market. Every farmer with a piece of dirt and a tractor can have access and part of that market. It's a consolidation from the farm field to the wellhead, because you have to have massive infrastructure and funding to explore and create new wellheads for oil, right? And so it consolidates the power, man.
It's just like
it's
what they're doing to the
industrial
legalization of
espionage.
the weed right now. When it comes to the weed business, they put so much fucking tax on the business where people that like local producers can't even get in to like if I am in the States and I want to sell the weed that I grow legally, I based on what I've seen on the news, it's like so expensive to even open a store. You know what I mean? There's so many different tax and all these different kinds of I don't know. I don't really know how to explain how the government operates in the States, because that's the
Right.
next complicated thing in itself. But
Which it's regulated out of existence and operation is the point. And that's why it's been legislated out of existence and operation. Okay.
Mhm.
Is because it's a way of controlling the greatest natural resource human beings have on this planet. And it's industrial espionage upon the people. So
That's what I was saying. Like, if they know they can switch to this product, why don't all of them just switch to this product and make the same money they make in selling the fuck shit?
because they won't make it. It's not about making money. It's about the consolidation of power
and
So-
keeping the power to themselves. You get it?
keeping the power to themselves.
If look at it this way, if there's 10 of us, right?
Yeah.
And in our industry that we control, all 10 of us, we run this shit, right?
Yep.
If there's a way that 100 other people can make money from our business, from our industry, we're going to try to stop them. We're going to, you understand, put
Yeah.
all these barriers, which
Yes,
is
you do.
taxes, which is rules, which is all these different kind of things to keep them down and keep the power.
So it's like creating a guard dog to the door, so they won't let
Exactly.
nobody in. So
You
here's
got it.
here's
You got it.
here's so here this is what I'm being devil's advocate, because people that are going to be watching, they're going to say well if they know that they can do all this, why are they not doing it? You got to remember, people, money is not the root of evil. Hold on, y'all.
What do you guys?
So Travis, you're saying that what they're doing is they're saying to themselves, we're a conglomerate. We're not going to let something, because technically there'd be so much, because oil is limited. Fossil fuels are limited. All the products that they use right now to make things are limited. They're a finite amount of these.
It's a finite resource. Yeah.
Weed would be an infinite resource, because you could literally just pick a mountainside that has got acres and just drop seeds in there. Because when you're using it for products, you don't need it to have high quality on this. You know what I'm saying? Or am I right?
Right. Well, then
When you're making hemp fibers, you don't need a high quality strain of weed. You just need weed, right?
you need hemp. There's special strains of herb. So there's special strains of weed for fiber. There's a special strain for seeds. There's a special strain for flowers. As we know, we have all the special strains for the flowers that we spoke. So there's different classifications for different uses, but it all comes underneath the umbrella of the hemp plant. Even cannabis falls under the hemp plant umbrella.
Okay.
So
that's what you got to realize. You're really saying, so it's not that they can't switch to it, is that they won't switch to it because it's going to lessen their bottom line. If they switch to hemp, it's a product that will allow them to say, we have, because this is how business works. If you have a surplus of something, the price goes down. When you have a less than of it, when you have less of it, the price goes up on it. So that's how that works. We have a finite amount of fossil fuels, we have a finite amount of products they use to make stuff like metal and iron and all that shit, and fibers for clothes. So the price on that is going to keep on going up. That's why you see inflation so much on shit. And you 10 years ago, you could buy a pair of Jordans for $50 or whatever. No, you could never buy Jordans for $50. fuck out of here. You can go buy, so you can go to the store, you can get a whole chicken for $5 or whatever. Now you get a whole chicken for $15 and the chickens look like fucking mutants. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that's different. So they were to switch to that weed, and there'd be so much of that weed, they couldn't sell oil, they couldn't sell you gas no more for no fucking $3 or $4 or $5. That gas would be fucking 25 cents again, like it was back in 97 or 98.
Well, they
That's how that
named
works.
it. They named it fossil fuels on purpose way back in the day to give the illusion of scarcity. That way, they
you
charge
could rise
more.
the price.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So that's how much weed is. That's how much great a positive effect weed has on us as human beings. You see what I'm saying? In that manner, that if it were to be used in all the fuels and all the fibers and all the in production that hemp can be used in, it would cut the bottom line so heavy because it would be so easy to produce that they would lose more money than they would gain from it. So that's why we can't switch to that shit. But that's some fuck shit. So
Also, I think a lot of like markets would crash basically because countries, when you look at, for example, what you call them, Saudi Arabian countries like that, these are countries that survive and dwell on like specific resources such as oil and petroleum and stuff like that. So imagine if that industry is completely being replaced by a next product that can be produced anywhere in the world by anybody.
Yep.
Those guys are kings.
That's a crisis.
Are kings.
Yeah,
it puts them out of business.
Yeah, those guys are kings. They're not giving up hundreds and hundreds of years of being on top, of being in the bro, they have Lamborghinis in hotels.
Yeah.
in their rooms.
Yeah, they have the money to spend to keep it down.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I mean when I say that, industries really regulate and control these some markets that we look at right now. For example, I gave earlier the example of the pharmaceutical industry. It's a big drug industry, and for nothing in the world, the elite would give up an industry such as that just because they know that there's a cure in a plant or somewhere else. It's too, I don't know. I think it's probably too important for them.
Oh, it is. I mean, cannabis is the oldest known. It's the very first plant to be used in human pharmacology. So a 6,000-year-old Chinese text, when they talk about pharmacology and they talk about medicine, all of the original medicines came from cannabis. And its original name is the sister of man. And that's something I also like to spread out there.
Hold on. So you say in the 6,000, that 6,000-year-old text, they call it the sister of man? Yep. Mary J.
That is the 100%. She is the sister of man. She is here to clothe us, feed us, and take care of us. And that's the truth. And to medicate us, yeah, man.
Yeah. And it really does do all that. No lie.
Does all that.
No hesitation.
Does all that.
Yeah, it does all. It can clothe you. It can feed you. I just found out. And it can use, I know for a fact it can use hemp to build stuff. Because when I was in the Army, they had hemp products.
Yep. Well, and I was just talking about Hempcrete. So Hempcrete is the best building material on the planet. So you have concrete, which is great, right?
Yeah.
But it actually degrades and breaks down. And when you create lye to mix, which is cement, to create the cement that makes concrete, it's actually some super poisonous shit. And it's actually really bad for the planet.
And you're not even supposed to breathe concrete when you're mixing it.
So when you make hempcrete, you are simply taking crushed hemp nibs, which is the woody inside core of the hemp plant. You're taking crushed up limestone that hasn't had to be treated, heated, or messed with. And then you're taking water and you're mixing it in a concrete mixer and you're putting that in a form. Okay. And that will harden into a wall, a breathable wall that is an insulated wall that will eventually petrify into a granite type substance after about 25 years. It is by far the best building material known to man. because it gives such an incredible R value. The thicker you make the wall, the bigger the R value, and it's extremely cheap to do so. It lets the water in. So it's a breathable wall that's insulated that lets the water in, but it will not rot or corrode it. So that's the problem with most building materials. You're fighting the water. Okay.
Hold on. If it lets the water in, where does the water go?
It lets the water in, right? But then as it dries out, it lets the water back out again. It's a breathable wall.
So wouldn't that water go into your house then?
No, it doesn't actually penetrate the house because the wall is built with such a thickness and that it doesn't penetrate the whole wall. So
couldn't you actually turn that into a runoff and actually turn that water into usable water?
No, it's because it's not flowing water. It's
condensation.
It's humidity.
Okay.
Humidity is the water that's dissolved in the air. It's the vapor. Water's a vapor, you know.
Okay.
So,
okay.
it's humidity. So it all depends on your relative humidity to where you live.
But if we look at production wise, right? If we look at it from a financial aspect, let's say a normal house, how much hemp seed and would you have to how much hemp would you have to produce to create something like this? And what's the cost? What cost?
I can't remember the acres, but there is a acre amount per square foot. I do believe there is an equation out there. There's companies in California that are actively building these as a company. You can get on and Google Hempcrete Homes, and there will be a bunch of stuff in California you can look at that they've already completed. They're absolutely gorgeous homes. But the fact of the matter is it's all about scale. The more hemp you plant, the cheaper it is. You know what I'm saying? But overall, it's a byproduct of creating fiber.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very cheap way to go as far as housing for the world. If you're to scale it up and say we're going to house the world,
mm-hmm.
and we're going to house them in houses that don't require a whole bunch of inputs because it's a thermally it's got thermal value to it. It's not like these thin houses that we live in. You got to constantly blow heat and air conditioning into to keep the temperature, right?
Yeah.
So if you put a thick enough wall with a thick enough R value, it maintains temperature regardless of the outside conditions.
Now, here's the question, Travis, that I've had as you're talking about this. Like I said, I'm being devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
Is the cost to remove the inner part of the seed, that hard part that can be turned into houses, more than it's worth?
Well, no. It's a byproduct.
It's getting that inside part out easy. Like, would they have to create some kind of machine, or is it something that people hit it? It pops open.
They already have it. It's called a decorticator.
Okay.
And it's a machine that all you do. They chop the hemp down in the field with the tractor, just like they do alfalfa. They let it dry.
Yeah.
To a certain dryness in the field. Okay.
Yeah.
And then they come and they scoop it up in the big bushels and they run it through a decorticator. And the decorticator rips and snaps and breaks it and rips it all apart. And it takes the fiber one way and all the hemp nibs the other way. Oh, and not to mention, hemp nibs burn at an extremely high BTU value because it's all impenetrated with the hemp oil. So we could actually generate all of our power with these hemp nibs as well. We could boil all the water we ever wanted to boil and clean because it burns super clean just with hemp fields. Like we can do everything. We can make the oil for our cars out of the hemp seeds, just like they're doing with corn, except it's way more volume of oil. And the oil burns clean. It's not like petroleum oil. So that's where it's a do-all, fix-all plant.
You know,
it requires very little water in the field. It will grow in extremely arid environments. it rebuilds the soil, so you can practically plant it in sand, and it will drop so much biomass of its leaves on the ground that it will build topsoil. So you can take and plant it in areas that are been depleted by cotton, corn, soybeans, all this stuff, and you can rebuild that farm ground with hemp back into usable ground. In fact, before it was made illegal in 37, it was the go-to rotational crop for all crops. It was the crop that you rotated on the field to replace your topsoil, so you didn't have farm field degradation. It is.
Yeah, I remember reading about that too. They said something about it in 37. You know what's crazy about that is when I was reading about that in 37 during the World War, how they literally during that one period of time legalized the growth of weed, and the it was the government, the Department of Agriculture actually made a that video you told me to watch yesterday, made that video and distributed that video, yeah, how to grow weed properly, how to grow hemp properly, to use hemp in the war. And as soon as the war was over, it was illegal again. You couldn't grow it no more.
So it was for the war. It was material for the war effort, because all the parachutes, all the uniforms, all the cords, all the cords, all that shit in World War II we used to go and kick Hitler's ass with. Yeah, hemp. Yep.
Then they stopped doing it. They're like, Blair, we're gonna go ahead and cut this out. This is going. Because it was so easy to do that, bro. Because then, as you said, people were already using it as a rotational crop. So they already knew how to grow it, but they weren't growing the hemp the way they wanted this for the army to use to make products.
Yep. Well, there's the Kentucky Hemp Coalition that's been fighting ever since it's been made illegal. A bunch of redneck farmers. Oops. Hold on. Did I lose you guys? A bunch of redneck farmers never smoked weed in their lives have been fighting for generations to make hemp legal again so that they could rotate it and grow it for fiber. The fun fact, the very first tax of the United States ever implemented was by George Washington, and it was on landholders that were required to grow a certain amount of hemp on their land to give to the government of the newly found United States as land tax. The first tax of this United States was a requirement to grow hemp to give to the government so that they could start a navy, because each ship required 300 acres of hemp for its rigging and sails. The reason, the reason why the Europeans were able to sail the ocean and come all the way over to the new land is because their sails and ropes were made out of hemp. And hemp doesn't rot in the sea. Everything else rots. You can't make it's permeated with hemp oil, so it doesn't. Ocean water don't rot it. So the reason we're here on this continent, sorry, not you, DJ, but us right now. The reason Europeans are here on this continent is specifically and solely because of hemp and its ability to withstand sea rot.
JD.
Yeah.
That just made me pissed off that shit is still illegal in France.
Everybody should be pissed off.
As we talk
Everybody should be pissed off. Every day that it has any kind of regulation around it at all is a crime against humanity and every person here on this planet that desperately needs it. We all need it. We're all a community of human beings, and we all need fuel. We all need clothing. And we all need food, man. We all need a house.
Let's talk about this now. Let's talk about legalization of marijuana. Yeah. Right now in America, they got several states that have legalized. Washington is one of them. And now they're pushing a bill to legalize it federally. Yeah. Now what that means is that so for people that don't understand, people outside of the states, how it works, each state can set up its own law, and then the federal has its own law, and they're two separate laws. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's legal in a state, but not legal federally. So Washington is legal in Washington. I mean, you come to Washington, you can blaze up, smoke a joint, you can have some weed on you to a certain limit.
I live in Washington.
Yeah. Get pulled over, you know what I'm saying? The police, all that stuff. But if you take that weed outside of Washington to another state that's not legal, you could get arrested for it. So it's stupidity blows my mind.
Yeah.
And you can
Like,
move
we
around
live
with
in a real world
any
where
quantity of
you
weed,
can
or
cross an
is it a
imaginary
limited
line
amount?
and commit a crime. Listen to what I'm saying to you. You live in a world where you can cross an imaginary line and commit a crime.
Yeah.
But it's legal if you take 2 steps over this line, you can blaze up. But if you step over 2 more steps, it's illegal. Stupidity or whatever. So, you know what I'm saying? So when they legalize weed now the feds can tax weed. Now the taxation on weed, listen, this also goes back to the fact why they won't make weed the predominant source of products. Because if they're able to make it a concentrated event, they can taxate more out of that concentrated event. So when the federals make weed legal for consumption, they can tax it now through the whole entire country the way they want to. So now when you go get your pro license, it was 5,000, now it's 7,000. And now you got to pay them not 1/10 no more. They want 1/3 now. You know what I'm saying? It's not going. I don't know the numbers, but I'm just saying numbers like this is what's going to happen.
Hey, Garnet, a question real quick, right? When you say, for example, in certain states, weed is legal, right?
Yeah.
Do you mean you can move around with any quantity of weed without
Never,
any problem?
never.
Because that's important. That's an important fact, because like a few years ago, like I don't remember the year exactly, but weed was just recently legalized in Jamaica, right? Yes,
Yeah.
Jamaica, I said it.
That's crazy,
And
bro.
it's too recent. It's like 2000, how much? I don't remember the year exactly.
Wow.
Like 12, 13, something like that. I don't know. I may be mistaken, but it came to my understanding that you had to move around. It was legal in terms of moving around with a limited amount. It had to be enough for personal consumption, right? If it's over that, well, you're screwed.
Yeah.
So what do you mean exactly when you say it's legal in certain states?
Okay, so you can legal to consume weed in certain states and to carry a personal amount that you can consume. Now, see, that don't make no sense, because the amount of weed you smoke and the amount of weed I smoke is 2 different consumption levels. So whatever. But yeah, so with that, so when the Fed legalized it and they say, okay, now we have 50 plus states and it's legal to smoke weed in the states, but they're not saying it's legal to. They're not saying it's legal for you to go move around with pounds of weed. They're not saying it's legal. This is how legalities are tricky. Legalities are some of the craziest things that we've ever created for ourselves. It's these broad, big rules we generally use to control such a multitude of people.
Yeah.
So they're going to say to you, boom. They're going to say, okay, you can consume the weed, but you can't sell it to each other, nigga, or we gonna lock your asses up.
In Washington, we're not even supposed to pass the joint to each other.
Come on.
Why?
No,
you can smoke the weed, and you can
smoke the weed, but you can't sell it.
But listen, me and you can't be buddies, and you can't say to yourself, "Hey man, I grew some nice flowers. Come over. Here's a zip." You get a zip, and you get pulled over with that zip. You're getting a ticket. You're not going to jail, but you're going to get a ticket. You know what I'm saying? If you never had a record, it's going to be on your record, shit like that. So. The legalities of the legalization of weed is like seeing third base, but not getting there. Like that you bend that motherfucker third base, and you're just back and forth. You're just throwing the ball and you're just going back and forth, because you never really get to fully participate in the legally consuming and partaking in weed. It's like a half-assed version of it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Listen to what the man just said. You can't even pass it to each other.
Yeah.
Now this is how stupid it is. Me and you sitting in the house and you smoking, and the police, or we outside on the back patio, we smoking, and the police could walk by and see me go like this to you. You'd be like, ticket, bitches.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not gonna happen. It's a very low chance. But it's
to show you how in governments how important control by regulations, bylaws is for countries. You know what I mean? Because I really believe that the moment they put in place a law that gives them full control over the industry, that's the moment the shit goes global. There's absolutely no doubt.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think
I'm sure,
once America gets an
it's a cycle.
infrastructure, sets up an
It goes
infrastructure?
with everything, no matter what industry we're speaking about. Once
Yeah.
the government finds a way to have full control over it, over the monetary aspect of the business or of the whatever area we're speaking about, that's when they go public. That's when it goes all over the world. That's when the industry goes boom.
Well,
Because now they have control. They can
Oh,
tax
you're
it.
right. That's right. Because
Yeah.
I forgot I learned that in business. Yeah, because then when they can regulate the industry, once they can
Exactly.
regulate the industry,
Yeah.
then they can then they say when and where, and when they can
Yes.
make it go boom at their choice.
Yes, that's it.
yes, it's full control. It's just like when they made it illegal in the United States, they went around and forced the rest of the world to do so as well.
Yeah.
So it was like a sickness that went around the world.
Right?
Hey, look at alcohol.
Force the
Remember
rest of
one
the world.
time alcohol was illegal worldwide. Well, in the States, alcohol was illegal one time.
Yeah.
Right.
And it had
Yeah.
like mafias who used to traffic that shit. What happened the moment they got control over that alcohol? Nigga, you can drink even in COVID. That's legal.
Oh, absolutely.
It was
control over the industry.
During COVID, alcohol stores were a necessity. They were.
Coincidentally, the prohibition of cannabis came directly after the prohibition of alcohol ended, because the people that were conducting the prohibition of alcohol needed a fucking job. So this asshole fucking went out and they did it. They fucking passed the legislation and they got themselves a job, and they still fucking putting people to work, busting people for no good reason. It's bullshit.
Agreed.
Bro, you know what's crazy? You know what's crazy is that they actually take the time to construct like police task forces to go bust motherfuckers down for some weed. And it's not the weed they want. It's not the weed they mad about. It's not the youths growing weed. It's not selling the weed. It's that you making money off the weed and they can't get none of the money.
Garnett,
Let's do it.
So the feds are trying to legalize it for one major reason, because the money they're going to make. Now, Travis, of course, you know a little bit more about how the feds would use the legalization of marijuana to make themselves more rich.
Yeah, I mean, they're just going to follow the state model. You know what I mean? And then they're going to start requiring a federal tax, because right now in any state where it's legal, it's all just state revenue. There's no federal tax because it's still federally illegal. So the feds are pissed because they're basically missing out on a whole bunch of tax revenue that should be, that they want a part of. So they're wrestling right now with years and years and years of entrenched legislation against it, and the hypocrisy that will fall upon them when they actually do change their way, because they've ruined millions upon millions of people's lives and through this legislation, and it's bullshit. Maybe we should ask reparations.
Like prison time. Like people went to prison because of weed.
Yeah,
because of weed.
Weed.
Yes.
You ain't never heard nobody say. Listen, Terry used to smoke weed.
It's a victim.
Now
of
she's
crime.
sucking dicks in alleys for some weed.
Yep. Yeah. That's the real crime that's been perpetrated is that person going to jail over a plant, man. That they were simply trying to, we had it's the right to pursue happiness, right? We have that right here to pursue happiness. And so why can't happiness be pursued through chemicals and through plants? You know what I mean? Like a couple puffs and it changes your whole attitude upon life. It's not a crime against anybody. To grow it, to cultivate it, to cure the world, to cure your woes with it is not a crime. So it's a crime what they've done, and so that's where they got to come out of the woods. They got to figure that out. But they want that money.
And like JD said, once they legalize it, because America technically, let's be realistic, is the trendsetter for most of culture in the world. In the
Yeah,
world,
that's
and
true.
usually America sets a trend, and then most of the world follows. And then you'd be China. China's probably the bigger. China probably the bigger influencer because more people. You know what I'm saying, in China and Asia and stuff like that. But America is the trendsetter typically. If they legalize weed all through of America, like you said, just know the whole world's next. Everybody's going to legalize it, and they're going to be, the world is going to be one big cloud. Is it going to change anything? Is it going to make a difference when it comes to how much benefits we can receive from cannabis, from the sister of man? I don't believe so, because like you said before, people, once they if they make it so that it's part of our daily lives, part of the way we live, part of the way we exist, their numbers are going to change. And never in life will they let you or me fuck with their numbers. Y'all ask me before that happens. So weed is great. The benefits of it is amazing. It's beyond fucking what I knew that I learned today from talking with Trav.
Me too.
But we as a people, we need to do something. We need to start making more, our voices more heard. We need to start, like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how to do all that legal stuff, you know what I'm saying? I'm no legal beagle, but legal beagles, you know what I'm saying? Get in there and let them know, hey man, you fucking our lives off, and we can make it way more easier and stop killing off the planet if we just do something more natural that the planet actually produces for us. Like, this isn't something we created, because when you create some shit, that means the shit is finite. But when you fucking shit that comes from Mother Nature, we have tons of land that has no populace on it. Wild land still in America and across the world. We could grow weed anywhere. You know what I'm saying to you? We could have millions of acres of weed that could produce so much for us. But are they gonna let it happen? I don't think so, guys. I don't think we'll ever get to that point. I think weed is, as far as we know, is just always gonna be about the money. So yeah.
Well, we'll see. I want to believe that its time is coming around, because humanity needs it to. You know what I mean? I want to maintain the faith that it's gotta get let out of the box, man.
Man, I want to believe with you, man. I want to, but we're human beings. We're greedy. We're not gonna go through it. We're powers that do the right thing.
I didn't say shit isn't gonna have to burn first. You know what I mean? From the phoenix shall rise from the ashes shall rise the phoenix, and that phoenix might be green, baby.
Hey, that's a boot to you one, trust me.
Yeah. Now, people, thank you so much for joining us in this episode. I'm pretty sure a couple of you guys probably gonna go back and watch this a couple more times, because there's so much information in here. Don't forget Global State of Mind. Subscribe, like, and share.
And comment, guys. Comment.
Yeah, comment, please, man, because there's so much here, man. So, man, I don't know. Usually we have a good closeout. I give you some information, but man, you got everything. You got everything right here, man. This is it. Listen, peace, love, chicken grease, as I said. You know what I said. And God bless. Travis, thank you so much for being with us, bro. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. That was a lot of fun, you guys.
Our pleasure, our pleasure.
We love
you guys. Peace.
It's got to be, I'm proud of me. That's why I'm steady moving on, despite the hatred. I get better every song, man. It's got to be, I'm proud of me. If you don't like it, move along, get the shaking if the bacon ain't involved, man. It's got to be, I'm proud of me. That's why I'm steady.